Okay, let everyone join again. Okay, I'm gonna share this. What if you lack partner and give in to lust? End up becoming an incel and simp. What if you lack partner and give in to lust? अरे तो पार्टनर तो वो वाला होता ही नहीं ना चीज. पार्टनर इज अ डिफरेंट कॉन्सेप्ट ऑल टुगेदर. इफ यू लैक अ पार्टनर एंड यू वांट टू गिव इन टू लास्ट, देन गिव इन टू लास्ट. As I said, give in to your addiction till you get bored of it. That's what works for me though. I don't know what works for you, but that's what works for me. So it's worth a try as long as you don't spiral out of control. Video lagging men. D's Club. Video lagging men. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. What do you guys mean? You mean pursuing women until... No, not pursuing women until you get bored. Partaking in fornication till you get bored. As blunt as I am about it. Do you feel detached from the world around you and yet care for animals, people around you? Yes, because detachment is not a state of externality, it's a state of internality. Internality isn't even a word, I think. But it sounds good when I say it, doesn't it? Yes. Detachment means the ability to understand that the external doesn't really matter. And internally, there's no difference between you and the tiniest speck of dust and the greatest planet in the world, in the universe. That's what detachment is really. To understand the union between the greater reality and also to understand that the externality is of little or no value. So yes, I can understand internally animals feel suffering, people feel suffering, people age, people have questions, animals age, maybe they have questions. So yeah, it's externally we only show symptoms of what we are going on through internally. When you're attuned in that particular manner, you understand that there is literally no difference between the way you experience the world internally and the way an ant experiences the world internally. A world of mystery, a world of indifference, and a world that's beautiful at the same time. Hey bro, what's up? You speak like a sadhu in a good way. Well, thank you very much. I am, I guess. How do you realize your calling towards spirituality? How did I realize it? Because I had an inherent desire always. How do you realize it is not something that is up to me for decide. Lari, hado. Tataiya hai ek choti si. Chal, hट. Chal. So जान दो. Okay, how do you realize you're calling towards it? I was always inclined towards it, so it's not relatively new to me in any manner. How do you realize it is totally up to you. I would really suggest that you really watch the listen to the podcast, because I've really gone into the depth of what really differentiates between the different kind of spiritual aspirants of the world, the shaman and the priest. What's the last 1 hour of it, I guess, that's going to answer a lot of your questions regarding spirituality. What is your take on sexual transmutation? Well, in terms of rituals, I think it's a very useful form. I think it's one of the most potent forms of energy release that you could participate in, if it's a ritual that you're talking about. You were talking about hair and spirituality. Complete that. I'm curious. Well, you see, the thing with hair is that the reason a man generally starts growing his hair out is when he's sick and tired of society narrating what or how he should behave. That's one of the reasons, of course. That's a very biological, that's a very psychological modern take on it. That's why the hippie counterculture had a lot of people growing their hair out. It was a form of rebellion against authorities that were a little more conventional in their approach towards the human condition. So it was rebellion inherently. It was a fuck you to the system. But throughout time, it's always been a certain degree of men who have always grown up. To fashion statement ban gaya, that's a different story altogether. मेरे 10 साल से लंबे हैं. Throughout time, of course, there have been a select population of men who've always had their hair long, and generally the keeping the hair long is one of the symptoms of becoming disenamored. Is disenamored a word or is unenamored a word? Someone who's not enamored by how they come across or how they look or how they show themselves to the world. इसलिए मैं कटवाता भी नहीं, trimming भी नहीं करवाता मैं. So, I mean, that's what's happening at a psychological level, I think. At a spiritual level, it is said that the Sikhs believe that what God has given to you, you should not really touch it. So they let the hair grow out and they let the beards grow out. And the hair grow out and the beards grow out. I did the opposite. That's why the Sikhs do it. Every culture in the world has some form of that aesthetic need to let it loose. Even in the modern colloquial tongue, you have statements like to let your hair down, to let your hair loose, or to let your hair grow, or something like that. It generally means a state of being where you're free. To let your hair down when you're in, generally used in the connotation of a party, but it generally means that you're free. You're a wild child or something like that. Rock and roll also had a lot to do with a lot of people keeping their hair long, and rock and roll is very spiritual if most people don't realize it. Because rock and roll talks about things that no other form of music does. Pop does not talk about it. Hip hop talks about tragedy and wanting to make it big and things like that. But rock and roll really goes into the more esoteric side of it, because rock and roll has a lot of occult influence. Hip hop does not have occult influences. Rock and roll does. The Beatles, Zeppelin, they all had some form of these are bands that really brought rock and roll forth and made it like a cultural counterculture sort of a thing. And the way they shaped the cultural narrative is very fascinating, because from them stemmed the punk culture, from them stemmed those hippies and the flower power culture. So a lot of countercultures stemmed from them, and most of these countercultures have one thing in common: a distrust of authority and the constant need to accept even negative emotions, like what you would consider negative, like anger, fury, love, lust, things like that. These are not things that other forms of music generally spoke about before rock and roll. After that, of course, a lot of modern renditions of music use that. Of course, then we go back and we talk about music history, and we go back to the blues and the occult beginning of blues, where a lot of blues artists were blamed for having made deals with the devil, deals on the crossroads for attaining these ungodly talents. So that's that. But occult has, rock and roll, rock, blues, most forms of rock, most subcategories of rock, metal, blues, jazz, have a lot of occult influences that people don't realize. The drum beats were inherently tribalistic, shamanistic drum beats for blues, for jazz, for rock and roll. Have you heard songs like Sympathy for the Devil and things like that? These tribalistic beats that were used. Shamanistic beats that were used. So there's a lot. I mean, music history is a topic in itself that I can really go into the depths of, because I have, it's a particular fascination of mine. Okay. How do you discern if the path of spirituality, what are you following, is not dangerous? There are dark entities on the other side too, right? For every religion, amoeba. There is not a single religion that does not talk about the dark entities that lie on the other side. Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism. Which religion does not talk about the darker entities that lurk underway? The truth is that you discern it with the fundamental teachings of that particular religion or spirituality. If the fundamental teachings talk about harming people, harming animals, being selfish, not being compassionate enough, things like that. You have something called a conscience, and this conscience, if you're not a psychopath, generally works fine as a spirit of discernment to tell what is right from wrong. You don't need me to tell you. I mean, even if you're a meat eater, let's say, you don't need me to tell you that commercial farming of animals is cruel. That to get animals in congested spaces where they're sitting in their own feces and slaughtering them and eating them is any form of justifiable act, because it's not. You don't require me to say that. You just require a basic sentience, a basic level of conscience. You know what's good and evil already. So you need to trust in your inherent ability, in your inherent conscience, to tell you which path is dangerous, which path is not. Why would you want to follow anything that talks in detail about wanting to sacrifice a human being or an animal for some form of spiritual progress? That's evil. Why would you partake in anything like that? Anything that talks about loving people, helping people in suffering, accepting people the way they are, why would you consider that evil then? Understand? I mean, you require a basic level of conscience, nothing else. Okay, just one more question. I'm going to take one more question because I'm tired and I really want to enjoy a nice cold beer. ये तो गर्म भी नहीं पड़ी मुझे तुम लोगों की वजह से. Okay, I want to talk about psychedelics because there are people, I post a lot about these dream herbs and things like that, and there are people who really want to experiment with it, but I advise caution. The reason I advise caution is because you did not require any discipline to reach to the point where you want to experiment with these things. You watch my post or you read something online and you think that you should experiment with that. That's a very juvenile thing to think about. Number one, I do not think that psychedelics are for everyone. Not even dream herbs are for everyone, and people should not experiment with them if they are not of a particular state of mind, if they're not of a shamanistic state of mind, let me put it that way. You have to understand the inherent dangers behind these things, because a lot of them will hamper your brain in ways that will be somewhat permanent. Alright, they will make new neural pathways and they will break older neural pathways. They can spiral you in a psychotic breakdown forever, hampering any form of spiritual growth that you had for yourself. Even dreams, there are dreams that can fuck you forever. So I don't advise psychedelics for anyone. I, as a rule of thumb, suggest that you should practice 4 years of meditation, and then you should try and experiment with psychedelics. And even then you should only practice psychedelics in a controlled setting with someone who understands what you're going through, because you can do all the shrooms in the world and all the acid in the world and not gain any insight from it except abstract imagery and nothing, and you can gain nothing out of it. You can go into a psychotic breakdown and literally gain nothing out of it. So no, you should not experiment with psychedelics as a spiritual tool for progress until you have already made progress. You understand? You don't, for example, you don't go in the ring and start fighting an MMA fighter the first day. You train for a few days. You train your reflexes, you train your conditioning, you train your body firstly. You train how your response time is. You train parrying with other people. With other people. You train mock movements. You train with a punching bag. You train for a long time till you finally go and you fight with a person. If you think you are going to go after one lesson, after one post on the internet, and you're going to go and you're going to start fighting after learning just to do punch, ये hook है और ये है और ये है और jab मार लिया मैंने और अब hook मार लिया और उसके बाद जाते ही you're going to go to a ring and you're going to fight someone, you're going to be bludgeoned to death. And that's the same thing with psychedelics. You need to first understand yourself. You don't experiment with these things till you understand yourself. Especially, see, till the age of 27, you should do nothing, to be very honest. Till you're 27, your brain is still making new neural pathways. Your brain is still not fully developed. Not in its entirety at the very least. Till 27, don't do anything. After 27, before 27, if you can start meditating and things like that, then you can really optimize your brain development to work in your favor at a later date in your life. Reducing your risk of something like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or neurodegenerative diseases. Also, of course, spirituality. But do that before you're 27 if you're young and you're listening to this. After 27, you can start experimenting with the dream herbs that I'm talking about, that I keep posting about now and then. That's why I don't post about psychedelics often. I only post about Datura, because I know that people are idiots in the world and people are going to try things that they should not be trying already. So spend some time with yourself and introspect on your inner being. First, understand if you're a shaman or a priest, because if you're a priest, you don't require any psychedelics, to be honest. But if you're a shaman and you require psychedelics, then till 27, wait. Until 27, spend a considerable amount of time in deeper states of meditation, till the point you reach 1 hour, 2 hours in meditation. And then, eventually, after you're 27, your brain is fully developed. Then you should get into altered states of consciousness that are brought on upon by substances. Alright, that's as concise as I can be. We're going to end today's session. Any last words you guys want to say? I'm going to scroll down and read something. Alright, any last words you want to say? I am at the last, so I'm going to see new comments, and then I'm going to end this and I'm going to relax a little bit. It's Sunday. I need it. Go on, my little minions. Very good, Garima, that you've started it already. No, Freud was too sexual in his... I'm not going to answer, wait. I lose track. As I said, no more answers. I'm only looking for good comments, nice little compliments and things like that. Uske baad I'm gonna end it. Garima is asking, are you single? No, I'm not. You don't answer about subliminals. Delilah wali story. You are great. Very good. That's what I am. Please. Thanks a lot, man. It was very great. I'm on the 3rd year. Alright. Fearless Lemon. Thank you. When can we see? Every week. I do this every week, Witty Donor. I do this every week. Every week is a Q&A session. भाई डाक देखी क्या आपने? हाँ, मैं नहीं बता रहा. मैंने हाँ बोल दिया वैसे, पर हाँ मैं बता नहीं रहा. ठीक है, सिर्फ अच्छी बातें लिखो, फिर मैं जा रहा. Thank you that you all enjoyed the session. Yes, I'm not going to say anything. Yes, you're right though. Freud was right about that. Alright. Oh no, so sad shit. Thank you for your time. Very welcome, and we're gonna end it now. Bumped into your channel. Alright. Next session, next week. Take care, everyone. Women, men. I love you all. Bye-bye.